Hey, it's me, Brina, I'm back. So I'm now going to do a new artwork for the Melodies of Life. Basically, I'm just going to show you how I did it, which should be interesting, because I've got the reference image here, and then I've got a new canvas where I'm going to try and recreate it so it looks as close to what's over here as it possibly can. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bucket fill tool and fill in the background in black, because that's what I've got here. Make another layer. No, actually I don't need to do that because I'm going to do text first. I actually had the text white and then used an airbrush to do the colouring, and I remember what font I used because I am that sort of nerd. So there we go. That's the font. Make a text box. I'm just typing in the name, if I can spell, that is. And then obviously the text there is a lot bigger and it's centre aligned, which I forgot to do. So I'm just going to try and adjust it so it's the right size. Jesus, my spelling. That just looks stupid. It's always funny when stuff like that happens, I don't know why. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust it and try and get the alignment the same. Yeah, that's about right. And then I'm going to try and get that more centred, because I was quite focused before on getting it centred. It's probably easier to use the move tool to do this, actually. Because then you don't get the little yellow borders around the text box, which actually is kind of deceptive. That looks about right to me. So now I'm going to make my first airbrush layer, and this is going to be dark blue. So now, just for my sanity's sake, I'm going to use the colour picker for this, because actually trying to find exact colours otherwise is just something that takes too long. And I'm going to try and get to the right size that it covers the text plus a bit more, and that looks about right. I've actually done this in quite a few artwork pieces before. When I did the track art for the Waveforms EP, I did these sorts of techniques as well. And the important thing I found colouring in text with an airbrush is just to sort of set a line horizontally along your text that you don't go below, so that you kind of get a neat edge without it looking weird, I suppose. Because if you don't get a neat edge, it's just going to look odd, probably. And, you know, when you're trying to do something like track art, it's something that people are going to judge you for, so you want it to look as good as possible. I'm just doing a few layers here so that the colour comes across really well, like it does there. And it's not entirely neat either, so quite a cool tool in GIMP, because that's the program I use. I'm sure you can tell if you've used it or used Photoshop, is you can hold down the Shift key and it will come up with a straight line tool, which is really helpful for making sure you've got the straight edge. That's too short. It's easy to do that. Let's see if I can get it right this time. That'll do. So now I need another layer, which is going to be light blue. So let's go back to the colour picker. Don't know why, but that colour always makes me think of toothpaste. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. I mean, this is just one of those things that takes a while. And you do have to have a certain amount of patience, but it looks good in the end. And you do just have to keep that in mind when you're doing things like track art or cover art. Like, it will look okay in the end, even if it takes hours or days, or in the worst case scenario, weeks to do. You know, it is worth it in the end, because you don't want to go out into the music industry with a really bad piece of cover art like so many people do, and then people will be like, oh, why have you done that? Or even just like look back at it in a year or two's time when you've progressed as an artist and think, ooh, that looks bad. It's important that it looks nice, even if it's really simple like this is. And I think I'm about done with that. It's not quite the same colour because I haven't done so many layers, but I quite like it like that, so you know, I'm leaving myself a little bit of wiggle room here. And I've got an even lighter blue. I'm so lazy with names sometimes, it's quite funny. But let's colour pick that. I mean, that you can see there isn't quite white, but in the picture it does look white. And the reason that, if you notice, the airbrush looks a lot bigger on that image than on that one is because this canvas is a different size. It's the same aspect ratio but different size just because this is a really big size and I've had to shrink it down so it's at 12.5%, so it doesn't take up my entire screen, and sometimes GIMP can be a bit slow, or my Mac, I'm not sure which one it is, can be a bit slow at processing images when it's that big. So I'm just doing it a bit smaller so it's easier for me, and so you don't get bored trying to watch GIMP load my airbrushing, because it's annoying, quite frankly. Which is why usually I actually make my artwork at the resolution 1024 by 768, if I can speak, so that I can get an idea of what it looks like quickly, and then sort of basically do what I'm doing now and recreate it at a larger resolution. And what I did with this artwork is that I used this colour here, but I also used it at the top of the next line of text so that it would feel more cohesive. And interestingly with this, it can be quite important to arrange your layers in the right way, because if you arrange it weirdly, because there's going to be some overlap in the colours. I mean, I'll show you actually, because I've got the light blue layer, this one, on top of the dark blue, and if I put the light blue underneath, you can see that actually changes the way it looks quite a lot. So you want to get it right, or otherwise it cannot look the way you want it to. So I'm actually going to move that one below, because I think that's what I did with that, judging by it. And in any case, I'm now going to move on to a light green. And that's going to be there in the layer stack, you can see that here. I'm going to colour pick that as well. If you take that green out of context, it actually looks kind of weird, but in context of the picture it looks nice. Sort of grassy colour, that's why I picked it. I think way too much about colours. Sometimes I go actually a bit nuts thinking about colours and thinking, oh, is that right, or do I need like one tiny inch more of black in that? Oh no, that's too dark. You can drive yourself nuts doing that. I know that from experience. And again, this is more of a thing where you have to kind of keep it real in the sense that you want it to look good, but most of the time it's just going to be members of the general public seeing it and thinking, oh, that's good, or that's not good. It's not going to be professional artists looking at that and thinking, oh, well, if it was me, they're not going to be doing that. Chances are professional artists probably aren't going to be doing that either. And last but not least, in terms of text colours, I've got dark green. I don't usually make my layers this well, because when I usually go into this sort of design process, I'm making it up as I go along. This isn't the case with this particular piece of artwork, because I knew what I wanted it to be. But I just sort of make it up and I just name my layers like 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever I just feel like at the time. So it's actually kind of new experience for me, naming my layers so I know what they go on them. And actually, if you look at the reference image, this colour is really quite dark and quite few layers. Sometimes it's a good exercise as an and copy other people's work, just so you can understand the process behind that. And if you learn a lot doing that. Okay, I think this text looks about right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all these dots in the background. So I'm going to start with dark green ones, because that's the colour I've got at the moment. I'm just going to move that into the layer stack. I'm not creating layers really, because I don't need one. And this is quite a cool trick you can do here. If you go to the paintbrush and you scroll down, this has a line jitter thing, and you can set the amount of jitter. What it does is it puts dots all over the screen. Like if I click here, you can see it putting dots over here as well. And that's quite handy. But these ones are quite small, so I'm probably going to want the brush size down a bit. Something like that. Maybe a bit smaller. But I'm probably going to want more jitter as well, because if you can see, there aren't actually that many dots. No. Wait, jitter up. Because the lower you have it, the closer the dots are going to be together, and the higher you have it, the further apart they're going to be. It doesn't default to them being very far apart at first, but I suppose it just depends on what effects you want from it. So I'm just going to do this with all the colours I used in the text, and I'm going to use the colour picker because it's just easier. If I select the right layer, that is, because if you don't select the right layer, it just will set your colour to black, and that's really annoying sometimes if you don't realise and you think, oh yeah, I'm doing this really cool thing and nothing's showing up. Why? Try to avoid that if you can. Make sure you always look at which layer you're selecting first. Because otherwise you'd be like, okay, I've got the wrong colour. But that's not always necessarily a bad thing. If you pick the wrong colour, you can sometimes do something quite interesting and arty with that. So, you know, sometimes mistakes are a good thing. Keep that in mind, because a lot of things I've done in graphic design that I quite like actually come from mistakes. At the time I thought, no, and then I'll come back to it and looked at it and thought, that's pretty cool actually. And it's important to be able to do that, I think, anyway. So I'm now getting on to the last of the colours that I used in the text. See, I'm getting a little bit, I'm liberating myself a little bit with the dots here because this was all done randomly, but you can see straight away that there is some pink and some white dots in there. So I'm going to add those in as well. So I'm going to do the white ones first. Here we go. I think this is just one of those things that can make your backgrounds more interesting and is really quick and easy to do. So yeah, I would recommend doing that every now and again. And I'm going to colour pick that pink because it's easier. That doesn't look right, but let's see. That colour is definitely duller than that one, isn't it? Which means I need to go to the colour picker and I'm going to just increase the value, I think V is, of that. And that looks better. Again, it's quite important how you arrange the layers here because you can see the pink is coming through the strongest, and if I put that down a bit, it's sometimes hidden behind other dots, which sometimes just lets you get a better balance of the colours. And I believe that's about that for that one. So it's a really simple image to do, and it's really quick, so you just get a bit of text, do some airbrush colours, and then if you want to, you can then put some coloured dots in the background, use the jitter tool to make that a bit more interesting if you want to. And really, that's all there is to it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.